Welcome. So, doing a little different type of video here today because I just set up this cool whiteboard thing. So, I have some notes here that I was meditating on this morning, and I really wanted to just kind of jump right into it. So, hopefully, the audio is coming through okay. So, the title of the video is Let God Transform You into a New Person. So, this is a concept that we've been breaking down for the last couple of years in the Faith Builders group. And I'm happy to say that I have been transformed into a new person several times over in the course of the last couple of years in this group. So the first verse that we look at is in Romans 12:2. So what does Romans 12:2 say? It says, let God transform you into a new person by changing the way that you think. So how does God really do that? Well, when you become renewed, and we're going to look at a couple of other verses, but when you become renewed, you don't act the same way. You don't think the same way. You actually do become a new person because your behavior changes. Your habits change. Now, one of my favorite books is called Atomic Habits. And in that book, it's all about little habits, making small changes that have a big impact over extended periods of time. Another similar book is The Compound Effect. But, my dad always says that your habits will determine your future. So the habits that we have, like let's say drinking alcohol is a habit that you have, well, then you're going to have a future that is a result of those behaviors. Every action that you take is a seed towards your future. It's a seed towards your identity. So Romans 12:2, talking about God transforming you by renewing your mind. He's renewing your mind to making better choices and to changing who that you are and the way that you conduct yourself. So it's a pretty great verse. And I really love the simple way that it's phrased in this translation. So another verse is Mark 2:22. And I'm going to give myself a little more space here. We're going to be adjusting to kind of the whiteboard format. Hopefully we can get it going here because I think it'll help out a lot. So Mark 2:22. So this will be kind of our overarching theme, but Mark 2:22 talks about the wineskins, and it says nobody pours new wine into old wineskins, otherwise the wine will burst the skins and both the wine and the wineskins will be ruined. No, they pour new wine into new wineskins. So new wine, new wineskins. So the new wine has to go into the new wineskins. What does that mean? Well, from personal experience, I've seen God manifest himself in my life in many different ways, many different areas. And so I'll refer to Proverbs for a good representation or a good example for you. It says in Proverbs chapter 3 verse 9, it says, honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruits of all your crops. Then your barns will be abundantly filled and your vats will overflow with new wine. So in this context, it's basically talking about abundance and it's talking about overflow. So let's say that you are putting in the new wine and the overflow, but let's say instead of a wineskin, let's say that you have a bucket, right? There's a little bit of a glare here, but this is a bucket, and I'm not going to go crazy with the drawing, but this is a bucket, and let's say that you have some holes in that bucket, and let's say that you have your bottle of wine, and the wine is a representation, but so you can see you have a couple of holes in your bucket here, and you can see that we're pouring the wine into it, but it's coming out of all of these holes. So that's something that I've seen in my life, and we'll maybe see if we can get that glare to go away. Made it worse. It kind of helped. Well, we're stuck with it. So anyway, if your bucket has a bunch of holes in it, then everything that you put into that bucket is just going to leak out. And so that is the real issue here. If you have new wine going into this bucket, which is the old bucket that has all the holes in it, then all of a sudden you're going to see that all of your wine is pouring out. And eventually those buckets, the holes in the bucket are going to leak out all of your new wine. So I've seen this happen in my life on several different occasions where, the Lord has blessed me with abundance and overflow. And then I was still not renewed in my mind. So I still had bad habits and I was still conducting myself in ways that I shouldn't have been conducting myself. And I wasn't disciplined to be able to handle the new wine because I was still an old wineskin. So this is a really good lesson for us because, and this could happen in every area of your life. It could be, for work or responsibilities, relationships, whatever. Like, let's take a relationship example. If you have very bad habits with relationships, maybe you have a temper, maybe you are not very good at being faithful, whatever it is. If you have a great relationship that comes across your path, and then all of a sudden you're still conducting yourself in these poor manners, or you still have these old bad habits, this old wineskin behavior, then you're not going to be able to keep that relationship, right? And so you can apply this to all the different areas of your life. Now, there's a couple of verses that I want to jump into with you guys. Let Lord God have your way in my life and make all these new things. Yes, amen. Thank you, Veronica. So I'm going to go ahead and just wipe this off here. But I want you guys to remember that the new wineskins require a change. It requires us to be different. We can't keep doing the same things over and over again and expecting something to change. That's not how it works. I want to say it's Albert Einstein, but somebody said that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So what I've gotten into the habit of doing lately, and when I say lately, I mean over the last couple of years, is I start to make these lists, right? And they're very simple. It's very simple. You guys should be able to see that. So, old man, what are the things that the old man does? New man, what are the things that the new man does? And I'll show you in my journal that I just made one of these this morning. But I tend to do this a lot. And we're going to circle back to this list here in a minute. But I want to share with you another verse, and I'm going to put it on top here, which is Colossians chapter 3, verses 9 and 10. And it basically says, put off the old man and his deeds, put on the new man, which is renewed in the knowledge after the image of him who created him. So put off the old man. So put off the old man. What does that mean? Well, let's take a financial example. If you have poor financial habits, then that is a good example of the old man that we want to leave behind. We want to have good financial habits, good disciplines. It's like when a person who's overweight says, well, I'm going to start dieting when I lose some weight. That's not how it works. You got to actually start doing the things in the beginning. You have to start making the right disciplines and the right decisions, and then those will have the result that you're looking for, as opposed to waiting for perfect conditions for everything to change for you. That's not exactly how it works. So putting off the old man, and that's why this list has been so helpful for me, because I can say, what are the things that I'm doing that I should not be doing? And what are the things that I'm not doing that I should be doing? So let's say, and I'll put a couple of things on here, sowing sparingly. Sowing sparingly. Sowing sparingly means, and I wrote down a definition for you earlier, it says sowing in a restricted manner or an infrequent manner or in small amounts. So we were intended, and we're not going to really talk about sowing here today, but I do have, another kind of similar style presentation that we could do about sowing and reaping. But if you're sowing sparingly, you're going to reap sparingly. So if you are okay with having infrequent, restricted, and small amounts in your harvest, then sow sparingly. But if you have been doing that and it hasn't been working, great. Let's change that. So the old man is going to transition into a new man who sows generously. And guys, sowing generously is hard. It hurts. It sucks. It's hard. At the root of most of the old man, new man discussion and the changes is, I think, selfishness. And that's just what holiness is moving towards selflessness, because Jesus was selfless. Being Christians, we're supposed to be Christ-like. We're supposed to be doing and living according to the way that Christ lived, which is putting others first, putting God before others, putting others after God, and then putting ourselves last. So dying to selflessness is really what renewing the mind comes down to. And so Jesus sowed sparingly, he sowed generously. He never sowed sparingly. He gave everything that he had. And this can be hard for us, because we operate in a perpetual state of fear that we're going to run out, that we're never going to have enough, or, and it's a challenge for us to get into this walking by faith lifestyle, which requires that we place our faith above our like the way that we view things, the way that we see things, our circumstances, because it looks one way in the natural, but the way that it is in the spiritual is not the same. So it's hard for us to be able to look with the eyes of the spirit rather than looking with the eyes of the natural, because circumstances will tell you that you only have $102 in your checking account, and your electric bill is at least $150. So how are you ever going to be able to pay that bill when you don't even have enough? So of course you're not going to be able to give a tithe, and of course you're not going to be able to sow to the guy who's panhandling on the street corner, or buying your friend's lunch, or doing whatever the different things are, different opportunities that you have to be a sower. So circling back to kind of the new man, it's just showing you that, walking by faith and not by sight is fundamental. But, getting a good visual, for me, I'm a visual learner, and I store more information when I have it written out and I can see it. So especially making these lists is I can say, okay, what are the things that I'm doing that I should not be doing? So too much TV and social media is another one. Probably a lot of other people struggle with as well. Might be a little hard for you to see that depending on what platform you're on, but too much TV and social media, you could do more Bible or books. So, I've never known anybody that scrolled their way to a better lifestyle, or clicked the TV remote into great success or financial security or any of those different things. So there's really nothing but, consumption is really a poor use of our time. And in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 15 and 16, it talks about redeeming the time, making the most of your time so that we can recognize and seize opportunities with wisdom and diligence. So, watching too much TV, too much social media, that is not making the most of your time. However, spending time in the Word, reading books, listening to books, especially books about the things of God. There's a great book that I have right here that we read at the end of last year in our men's group, Seed Time and Harvest. A fantastic book, which really, having books like that you can draw from, that you can soak up all this knowledge and then you can apply it. that is really the way that you're going to be able to level up. And so the new man requires these changes. It requires you to start sowing more if you want to start receiving more. It requires you to stop spending so much time on television and social media and spending more time learning, because the secret benefit to reading books and reading the Bible is that the wisdom of God is trapped in those pages, so that you have to get into the Word to figure out how God operates. You figure out what spiritual laws are, spiritual principles, how to apply them, how to live your life in a Christ-like manner. So when you start, and the same thing is true of books. I'm very big into business books, and if you are a business owner, or if you're curious about getting into business or something, get a bunch of books, start reading books, start listening to books about whatever field it is that you're interested in, or just general business books. And I tend to find that they have great life principles in them as well, for financial accountability or financial discipline, for time management. Like, there's so many different skills that you learn from books, but you're not going to learn those things from social media and from television. I mean, it's just not going to happen. So, you might have diet and exercise, or poor diet and exercise. So that might be something that the old man used to do, but the new man is not going to do that anymore. So you're starting to get the idea. We're literally just moving them over. But you can also go the other way, and you could say, all right, what are some things that the new man should or could have that the old man just doesn't have, right? So maybe it's investing. I'm just giving you some ideas here. Maybe it is mountain biking, right? Who knows what it is? I don't know what it is. It has to be different for you than it does for me. But the new man and the old man, making the list of what are those things. If we go back into a spiritual context, new man might pray. The old man might not be praying all that much, might not be praying enough. You can do fasting. Maybe the old man wasn't fasting, but the new man is going to start fasting. So as God begins to renew your mind, then you begin to see these changes take place. And then all of a sudden, you'll realize that within a fairly short period of time, relatively speaking, your life looks completely different than it did before. So I'm actually going to go ahead and give you guys a couple of other examples here, because I really want to hone in on this topic. And I'll share another verse with you too. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 22, really 23 and 24 as well. But it says, be renewed in the spirit of your mind and put on the new man. We have to put on the new man. The new man does not just appear one day. And so what are some things that we can do in order to begin to become a new man? Well, it starts with taking action on the things that we know that we need to be doing. And so sowing is a really good thing to be taking action on. I'm not saying that the old man doesn't sow. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that you already do all of the things that we're putting on the new man column, but you could always do more of them. So praying, well, let's do some hard ones though. Love, or walking in love. Sometimes that's hard. Forgiveness. Sometimes that one's a really hard one. I know for me, sometimes forgiveness is a little bit elusive, especially when it comes to, work-related disagreements and that kind of thing. So forgiveness, new man. So, and really a good way of isolating what are the most important things that I could be putting my time on, or, I like to do it from the negative to the positive, but it works backwards too as well. So some things that I've noticed just in my own life, that if I look at the things that Jesus did and I say, well, am I doing that thing? Or, take it the other way around and say, is this thought that I have from Christ, or if Jesus was standing right here, would I have made that same joke? Or if Jesus was standing here, would I still have been behaving the same way that I was? Would I still be, pouring drinks like I was, or doing whatever it is? So, it's a really good way of analyzing what are the behaviors. But I would challenge you to make a little list like this for yourself. I tend to find that it's a lot easier to fill the old man column than the new man column. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think that it's good for us to be challenging ourselves to figure out what are the things that I'm doing that I should not be doing, and what are the things that I'm not doing that I should be doing. So, but either way, get yourself a list. Maybe start with 10 things that the old man does that the new man is not going to do or should not do. And let's add 10 things that the new man should be doing that the old man was not doing or not doing enough of. But, if you just do 10 and 10, you might find that you get to 10 here and you have 4 or 5 other ones that came up along the way. Really, the expert level would be to go to 20. This is going to probably take you 30 minutes to an hour. 10, you can do that in less than 10 minutes. But you could do both in 10 minutes. But it will probably take you about an hour to put 20 different things on both of them. I mean, if they're good things, if they're the right things, it takes a little bit of time. But anyway, so kind of circling back to put it all in perspective here, it's not anything that we do in our own strength. It takes God to be able to even show us that we need to make these changes, because on our own, we're not going to make these changes. In our men's group, we've been talking about John chapter 15 a lot. And in John chapter 15, it says, "Abide in me, and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit of itself except it abide in the vine. No more can you, except you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. He that abides in me, and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit. Without me, you can do nothing." Without me, you can do nothing. So it's important for us to remember that we can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Everybody knows that one. But we need him. So we need the Holy Spirit to show us what are the things that we're doing that we should not be doing, what are the things that we're not doing that we should be doing. So we can do all things through Christ. Christ renews us. He transforms us by renewing our mind. He transforms us by showing us, okay, you really need to start getting to church. You really need to start spending more time reading the Bible. You need to start spending more time praying. You need to and he can give you even more. It could be not just praying, but you need to start praying for the country. You need to start praying for your friends. You need to start praying for your church. You need to start praying for your customers. You need to start praying for your coworkers, your boss. Really, really, really important that we focus on this new man, especially calendar just changed. It's a new year. It's a new season. God has such great things in store for us. But if we are, and I'll go back to the bucket here. If we are that bucket that has all these holes in it, I'm going to put some little holes so you can see. And that's what every little bad behavior, every little habit is. It's a hole in your bucket, your spiritual bucket. And if God is pouring into your bucket this new wine, this is new wine. if God's putting this new wine into your bucket, filling up your bucket, but it's just coming right out of those holes. He can only fill your bucket so full before it all leaks out again, and before the bucket is empty and the wine is gone and you have to start all over again. So I hope that this can at least be a little bit of an encouragement to you, because in order for us to get where God intends for us to go, it's going to take us making some changes. And I've been making some changes in my life recently. And like I said at the beginning, over the last couple of years, I have seen myself completely transformed so many different times. And there's been a lot of things that have stayed the same, but there's largely a lot of things that have been completely different. And, anybody who I knew, from maybe 5 years ago earlier, if I met them now, or if we reconnected or something, they wouldn't recognize me. They wouldn't recognize, my interests. They wouldn't recognize my behaviors, the way that I look, physically. Even everything about me has basically changed over the last 5 years because I've become renewed. And I'm really excited about this opportunity that we have to become renewed again. And that's I wouldn't say unfortunate, but that is just that's the thing about Christianity, is that it is a lifestyle, and you have to be progressively being transformed. You have to be progressively making changes and improving. The same is true of business and personal development and most things that are worth having in life. If you're into sports or something like that, you're going to have to be constantly iterating and adopting new behaviors and improving. And that's the way that it is for us with Christ. The journey is never over. We're constantly learning areas that we have fallen short. We're constantly learning how to overcome different obstacles, and we're constantly improving. So hope that can at least be a little bit of an encouragement to you. Trying to have a little bit of fun, trying to workshop the setup here a little bit, but I have this fancy new whiteboard here, and I really want to start using it for some more kind of in-depth with visual representation type of discussions. So thank you for tuning in. It's a pleasure to be with you as always. And maybe we'll do another one here tomorrow.